I'm going to show you guys how we river fish in our setup. Because we have current, it's different from the harbors, how we fish the river. So what we have here, starting from the bottom, we have a size 6 or 8 hook. This is a 6, and what I do is I just take the point of the hook and I just go through the netting 3 different times, so I try not to pop the eggs, but if you do, it happens. And in that spawn sack, you can see those really bright beads. Those are foam floats. Those will help keep the spawn sack off bottom, because if it sits on bottom, it's going to be sitting in muck and sticks, and that decreases your chances of the fish seeing it. So by having those floats, what it'll do is it'll lift it off bottom, so those right where those fish are feeding can see it. So we're going to dunk that in, and next up here we have rubber stops, which that stops our sinker from going down to our spawn sack. And with these rubber stops, I really like them versus a two-way swivel. I can actually slide that and may have a different length leader depending on how strong that current's flowing in each hole, in each spot we're fishing. And on top of that, we have a de-icer bobber. So what we'll do is, I'll show you here, we're going to fill that thing with non-toxic fluid, and what that's going to do is keep the line from freezing in the bobber and in the hole, so that when that fish bites, it can freely pull down and set the trigger on that fish. So we're going to just put a little squirt in there, close up the bobber, dunk it in. Now, we like to use longer rods in the river. Medium, light, mediums are kind of the go-to action. This is an Automatic Fisherman 38-inch medium light rod. I love this rod. This is my go-to when I'm fishing for trout, whether it's the river or the harbors. So now what I'm going to do is take this, make sure that the sinker's up top, and I'm just going to freely let that sinker float to fall to bottom. And then when that happens, that bobber is going to turn sideways, just like that. So now we're on bottom. So what we're going to do is put the rod back in the Automatic Fisherman, reel up a little bit of this slack so we can get it taut enough that we can work with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tip of the rod versus the middle of the rod, because that's less stress on the rod here. If I grab the tip versus here, you take more of a chance of snapping the rod. So I'm just going to reel up just a little bit, and I'm going to grab the trigger mechanism. I grab it right between the pin and the U at the end of it, and I'm going to take the tip, I'm going to go right onto the pin here. I'm going to put it on the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is, this bobber is still sideways. I'm going to tighten that up so there's not as much slack. So I'm going to reel it till that bobber starts to pull up. And that's when you know you're tight to the sinker, and the sinker's still in bottom. I'll show you again here what that bobber is going to look like. So that bobber's sitting sideways here because it's got slack. I'm just going to reel it up enough till where it pulls that bobber up. And when it pulls it up, we're set. We're where we want to be. We're in the zone. Now another thing I want to show you is this pin, you can adjust it. The Automatic Fisherman come with a tool just like this. So what you can do is put that tool on the pin, and you can flex it back and forth to get the right angle for whether you want more of a sensitive bite or you want that fish to actually eat it before it really sets the trigger. So what we're going to do as well to make this a little bit more sensitive is I'm going to put my pointer finger on the bottom side of that pin, thumb on the top side, and I'm just going to slide that tip up a little bit. So I'm going to reel that up till that bobber starts to go up, and we're going to slush in the hole here so that it doesn't let any sunlight in, because we're only fishing 2 to 6 feet of water, and it doesn't look normal having a hole in the middle of the ice where there shouldn't be with sun light coming down. So we're going to slush it in to block out the sun, and we're ready to fish. So what's going to happen is that fish is going to bite, pull down, set it off, and then game on, baby. Let's go catch some fish.